Hello, everyone. This is Robert Landau, Live Life Well TV host, with another edition of Meet Your RCM Executive Staff. And we have a very interesting, very special, very unique member of the RCM executive team. I've met him a number of times, and I truly enjoy chatting with him, as I suspect you will too. I'd like to welcome Mr. Danny Merchant. He is the Vice President of Information Technology for RCM. Greetings, Danny.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it.
Oh, now, that background, you seem to be partaking in a particular political energy.
Actually, every once in a while, Trump needs a little help. He calls me. I step in the other room there and talk to him, and we're okay.
I love it. I thought you were in the Oval Office. You are amazing. You are.
From time to time, you never know where I'm going to be. So,
yeah, you know what? One of those windows needs a little cleaning, I know. Talk to him about that, will you?
I'll cue him up on that. So
there you go.
I'll get some housekeeping in here.
There you go. Look, a good deed every day, makes a huge difference, even in the Oval Office.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get to know you a little better. Where are you from?
I am actually born and raised in Alvin, Texas. It's a little town about 30 miles south of Houston, and I've lived here all my life.
I love it. So what I've never been there. What's the population approximately?
Actually, now the population's up to about 26,000. Growing up, it was a one red light town. Everybody knew everybody, which was good and bad. I mean, bad in a way because my dad was a police officer here for 17 years. And so if I got in trouble, they wouldn't arrest me, write me a ticket or anything. They just say, we're taking you to your dad. And so sometimes it wasn't that great.
Yeah, I think that kind of a threat, okay, we're taking you to your dad, is probably worse than getting a ticket or a scolding. Right?
Many times I begged them just to arrest me and put me in jail, and it wouldn't happen.
I'm so sorry to hear that. But you've turned out great, Danny.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Brothers, sisters?
I actually have 4 brothers and 1 sister. There's 4 brothers, 1 sister. Yeah, okay, that's all. There's 5 of us, or 6 of us all together.
Well, I'm glad you remembered exactly how many.
Yeah, well, you got to think about it sometimes. But no, my mom had 3. Had my oldest brother, then my sister, and then my next older brother, and then waited 10 and a half years and had me and my 2 younger brothers. And I did make the mistake one time of asking my mom if I was planned, and she said 10 and a half years, and she just started laughing and walked off. So I think I got my answer.
Yes, exactly. So what was it like growing up in that type of a household? Did you each have your own room?
Well, no, not at all. It was a very close-knit family, but luckily, like I say, there's 10 and a half years between us. And at that time, during that time, kids tended to grow up faster. My oldest brother was actually working in a rice field when he was, 14, 15. And so they moved out by the time the second group came in. And I always tell everybody that Mom and Dad figured they messed it up the first time, so they started over again. And so they got it right this time.
They got it right. I hope some of your brothers and sisters do not hear this interview.
Oh no, I tell them that all the time. So
I thought you might be preferring to go to jail.
Yeah, that's right. But no, it was, like I said, it was different growing up with a large family like that. Just family was very important, and so you didn't have an argument that you could just run away from. The house wasn't big enough. You could literally holler down the hallway, and so it didn't matter. So you learn to work out your differences. really quick.
So interesting, because I think that is also one of the benefits of living in a smaller town. I mean, I'm from New York City, so
Hmm.
that's the other side of the spectrum, and it's something that I really appreciate.
Right.
How do you feel, Danny, that that type of an environment, the town, the family dynamics, with emphasis on family, which is very interesting because to the best of my recollection, every RCM executive that I have interviewed thus far always mentions the family energy.
Right.
That's one of the things I notice with RCM executives. There's a real emphasis placed on family. So, anyway, how does that dynamic help in what you do now?
I guess now, and speaking to everybody being family oriented, um, I'd like to say it's everybody in our industry. I mean, you've got to be a special person to be able to do what we do, to interact with seniors, to understand the families. I mean, you're not just dealing with seniors, you're dealing with the kids and the grandkids. And, you know, by having family important like that, the dynamics changes because we get it. We love our families too. And so like right now during this time, we want to keep them safe. That's our main priority. But at the same time, we think, okay, how would my dad react if I did this to him? And so you stop and think about stuff like that. But growing up in a smaller town, smaller, a tight knit little area, you learn not to let things. You don't go to bed mad at people. You work it out right then. Um, that was something I was taught a long time ago. Never go to bed mad at somebody. Um, Even me and my wife, we've never had a fight, but sometimes we've had heavy discussions, and nope, we won't go to sleep until we resolve the situation. And so, even working at RCM, um, if somebody has a problem, let's solve it. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's find out what's underlying, what the real reason is, and let's solve this problem. Don't let it linger. If you let problems linger, they just fester, they grow, and then it can become something you can't handle anymore.
I love that. Excellent, excellent advice and information. Yeah, yeah. So before we talk about your present job, what
Mhm.
was your very first job?
My first job, my dad, like I mentioned earlier, he was a police officer for 17 years. Um, he and a couple of friends got together and they bought a gas station. There were only about, I guess, 4 gas stations in town at the time. And so my job was sweeping the gas station, um, picking up nails, anything in the driveway. We don't want people to puncture their tires. Uh, I got promoted. I got to actually pump gas. That was back when you actually pumped gas for the people. Um, and so that was my first job is actually working at a gas station.
How long did you do that for?
Uh, I think I started helping my dad when I was about 10. We would go on the weekends and stuff and we'd work for him. And then when I got to about, I guess, 13 is when it started. They wanted to add on to the gas station, so they started a wrecker service. And so I actually at 13 started driving a wrecker. Um, and like I say, back then it was a little different because even though I didn't have a driver's license, I couldn't drive around town, but emergency vehicles and emergency personnel kind of got a free pass. And, when your daddy tells you, go get in that wrecker and go pick up that car, you do what they say. And so no, I started driving wrecker and kind of being a grease monkey. And that's when I realized I really didn't like driving a wrecker or being a grease monkey. And I wanted a different career field.
There you go, which actually is a good transition to doing the type of thing that you do now, which fascinates me. So before we get to your actual
Mhm.
position with RCM, for those that may not know, I'm not putting words in my mouth if I say to you that you are in the field of information technology, right?
Right. Hmm.
So explain what exactly that is.
The information technology, it's kind of grown and evolved over the years. At first, it was just I was the computer guy. In fact, even still today, when I introduce myself, because I know a lot of people don't know what information technology is, what a vice president does, and so I just tell them I'm the computer guy, and they're like, "Oh, okay, the computer guy." It used to be just hardware. You worked on hardware. You loaded programs onto a computer and let people use them. That was about it. Over the years, it has evolved to what you and I are doing right now: video conferencing, phone con, even telephones. You know, our old telephones with the curly cord on it have gone away. Now they're as smart as our computers, and so that falls into information technology. Any type of technology that I gotta be careful how I say this. Any technology that people don't understand, that's my job.
I love that. That makes perfect sense to me
That's
because
I
I
have
don't understand most of it. Yeah.
well, that's I have to quickly become a guru of it and learn it and support it. And so that's where I'm at now. Of course, now I have the most awesome team in the world that work for me, and they take care of everything. And so now I'm a little more high level, uh, managing, going between the upper management, the C-suite, having to talk with them, explaining what's going on. So I'm almost more of a liaison now, between the guys that talk techie and the people that don't. And so that's kind of my role now, or where I see myself doing more technical stuff.
How did you get into information technology? I'm fascinated with that. What was it about that field that made you want to be a part of it?
Actually, my junior year of high school, uh, the very first time we had computers in a classroom, and the name of the class was called Computer Math. And so I signed up for it because I'm curious. I want to see what these computers, what this is all about. It was just what they call it's a programming language called BASIC, and so it's basic programming language, and that's all it was. I don't know why they called it computer math. That made no sense. It was just a programming class. And when I got into the class, uh, the teacher stood up and said, in order to take this class, one of the prerequisites is Algebra 2. Well, I hadn't taken Algebra 2 yet. And she wanted people, if you hadn't taken Algebra 2, raise your hand and you're going to leave and go get your class changed. I sat there for a minute and I thought, these computers are supposed to be so smart, they can do the math themselves. I shouldn't have to. So I'm not going to say a word. I made a perfect 100 in the class. It wasn't that hard. Well, about halfway through the semester, the teacher found out, and oh, she was livid. She was mad. Why didn't I tell her I hadn't taken? And I told her my thoughts on it, and she said, "Well, we'll see, because it's going to get harder and harder as we go." Well, I made sure everything I did, I got 100 on it, and she would grade it 2 or 3 times. She was so mad at me for taking that class. Um, I passed the class, got out of her class, kind of, snickering, haha. Yeah, I had the teacher next year for English, which is
Karma,
not my forte.
karma.
Yeah, but at that time, I had fun with computers. I saw what they could do, the potential in them, and that's when I realized, hey, I'm tired of driving a wrecker. I did that even, a couple of years after college. I mean, after high school, but I didn't want to get dirty all the time. I got tired of that. I wanted something that I knew was a growing field that I could actually come home with, clean hands. And so that's why I chose it. No, I didn't know a thing about them, and fell into my first computer job with a company called CAE Link. They were a NASA contractor, and really, I didn't know anything. They taught me how to do it. My first job was pulling chips out of a computer and putting new chips in to upgrade the memory. Um, and then from there, I went to IBM, and they were working on the space station contract.
Mm.
And so I got to work with them, which I gained more knowledge working with them because it was still new to them. They were computers were a new thing coming out. They have them on, I think we were just starting to send up the shuttles and build the space station. And so didn't really get deep involved with it. I was still just the computer guy running around, fixing computers and stuff. But I learned a lot, and everyone I ran into, I would sit and talk with and just learn whatever I could from them. And it just kept building. And as the computers evolved, I just tried to stay on the front of it and know what was going on, what's coming down the pipe next, and who's playing with what. And so that's a lot of times, and I shouldn't use the words. I tend to say, when people say, hey, here's a problem I have, I'll say, let me play with it for a minute. Well, I'm not playing, I'm working, but that's just the terminology. If I get in my head that I'm playing, I can have fun with it, and it seems like a hobby almost. And so that's kind of how I got into the computer field.
I love it. It seems to me that you're someone who likes to investigate stuff to get to the bottom of things.
Yes.
And I can see that would be a very good match for information technology. So how did you and RCM find one another?
Believe it or not, I am one of the dinosaurs here at RCM. I've been with the company 21 years. The company has changed. In fact, in the middle of it, we changed owners. But I actually found an ad for someone. They needed a computer operator, a network person. And I had worked for Dell and worked for a school district. I was a network administrator there. And so when I saw this ad and I realized it was in Friendswood, I said, hey, that's really close to home. I'm going to go for it. Well, the fax machine didn't work. The fax machine at their company was messed up, and it transferred me to the voicemail. And the lady, when she answered the voicemail, read off the company name, where they were located. I said, well, I'll just go see them. And so I went there and took my resume in and actually met David Clement for the first time. He and Ken McKee have actually been with this company about a year longer than I have. And from there, it took off. They actually, the owner at the time, he was pretty strict guy, and he made me join as a contract worker because he wanted to see if I could cut it. And after a couple of months, he said, okay, we'll have a meeting. He said, okay, I'm thinking about, making you full time. He said, but I want to know, he said, I've seen what you can do. I want to know what you're going to do for me. And I thought, oh, how am I going to answer this question? This is a tricky one. And I finally looked at him and I said, I'm going to make the best CIO that this company has ever had. And he said, well, we don't have a CIO. I said, right, not yet.
And what's a CIO?
Chief Information Officer. It is one of the officers of the company, but it's all over technology and information. And when I told him that, he hired me right there on the spot. And I stayed there and went through several transitions. We built a few properties. Jim came in and bought the whole portfolio, but at the same time, he saw the management company, and Jim said, I'm taking it too. And so we all just moved with Jim, and we've been going ever since.
That's so much of what you said is so amazing, right? But what impresses me the most is who nowadays, even back then, stays with the same company, the same job for 21 years. I mean, there's some people nowadays who don't even stay with a job 21 days, never mind 21 years.
Yeah, we run into that problem a few times in our companies.
Well, in any company, right?
But no, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just lazy or something. Don't tell anybody.
The secret's out now. Sorry.
And I mean, me and my wife, we've been married 30 years. And I tell everybody that it's because I'm too lazy to start dating again. There's no way I'm leaving. So maybe that's what it is with the job. No, I've been loyal to this company because this company has done so much. They are my second family, and I look at them as a family. When Hurricane Harvey hit, it flooded my house. We had to gut the whole house out. RCM stepped up And even Jim personally stepped up to make sure I had everything I needed, supplies, materials, whatever I needed to get this house back in order. And so I started telling people, that was just God's way of saying, hey, it's time to remodel. And so we remodeled the house.
I love it. I love it. You're making lemonade out of lemons.
That's right. Yep.
And again, it says a lot about RCM and Jim Gray and that word family. That word family comes into play again.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So give us an idea of what the Vice President of Information Technology with RCM goes through on a typical day. What's a typical day? And I bet no day is ever the same.
Yeah. I was going to say there's really not a typical day. For the most part, I'm brought in for any projects that get started that involve any type of IT. If we have one software that doesn't talk to another, I'm brought in to help the two softwares talk. Especially now, it's meeting after meeting after meeting, back to back, and most of them are video meetings now, which I give kudos to my company, because when I introduced Microsoft Teams, they're all like, okay, yeah, great, another conferencing system. They are all experts at Microsoft Teams right now. These people can jump on a video call and handle it quick. So good for them. But no, a typical day is, like I say, high level meetings with developers. We're building a new building. Well, we have to make sure that everything can talk, that there's internet in the building. People's cable TV is going to provide what they need, that all the emergency call systems are in place, the fire alarms, make sure they're able to connect to the internet. Make sure nowadays technology has gotten its hands in everything. Even our air conditioning system talks back to us through the internet and gives us reports. And so we can control the air conditioning in the building, the heating and cooling, but all that has to be set up and all connected. Well, I did it myself. I would actually be the one doing it. Now I'm the go-between. I gather all the information, what's needed, and then I pass it on to my team, and we figure out what are the best resources for this, who can do what, and how quickly we can get it done. And then we schedule my guys out, or do we need to pull in contractors and schedule them out? And which in that case, now I'm running the contractors, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to, inspecting things. Policies, I love that job. I write policies. Okay, I'm lying. I can't stand writing policies. That's not a good job. But they have to be done, because if you don't have a set of guidelines, then people don't know what to do. And so you have to set those guidelines, but you don't want to be too stringent to where you've locked yourself in and now you can't get. Jim, I actually watched the interview you did with Jim Gray, and he made a comment, and he's actually told all of us this too. He doesn't want to be the biggest. He wants to be the best. One of the things that we found that is really, really helpful for us is because having a smaller company, we don't get stuck with a lot of red tape. If we need to make a change, we get on a call with all the people involved and we make the change right then. And I know I'm just talking away, Robert, not letting you ask any questions.
No, what you're saying is very worthwhile. This is not about me, it's about you.
Well, I was going to say, because that's one of the things that has really helped us through all of this coronavirus stuff. Every day, Kendra and Dave Keaton, they started 4 o'clock call every day. It's an open call. Anybody can get on it, within the company, for information. And every day there has been, on the average, 80 people on the call every day. Even on Saturday and Sunday, we do it.
So on that call, this 4 o'clock call, who specifically is on that call, job title wise?
All of the executive directors. We have some business office managers, some nurses get on there too. Our nurse, which I love her to death. Gwen Wilburn, you actually interviewed her. Um, she, I love the way she has reacted to all this. Because of that 4 o'clock call, Gwen is able to get on there and say, here's what the CDC just said. Here's what we have to do. Institute it now. The very next day, we're doing it. Well, but she never gets on there and does any of the fear mongering. She only gives us what we need, and she doesn't go beyond. We don't get way ahead of the CDC, which I've seen some people do, and try to lock down everything, make things so rigid that nobody's going to enjoy it. But she never gets behind them either. So, if she tells us to put on masks, we will all be wearing masks tomorrow morning. And so we have that capability to react. As a small company, we can move a lot faster and not have to worry about, oh, wait, did we get this person to approve? And did this person approve? And did it go through this department? We can bypass all that. And there's been several times we've done that. And that's why I love having the business the size it is. I mean, that's what Jim Gray said. And I totally agree with it. I want to be the best. I don't want to be the biggest necessarily. I just want to be the best. I want people to look and go, that's the example we want to follow.
And that's a wonderful precedent to set. It's the type of thing where I'll put words in your mouth, but I would suspect that you wake up every morning thinking, thank you for another day. Thank you for this incredible job that I've been at for 21 years, even though it doesn't feel like it. How can I be of service today?
Right.
And as far as Gwen, yeah, I guess everybody that I've interviewed for this show is just so dedicated to what they do and really brings passion to it. And I love what you said too about Gwen not fear mongering. Now, is there a way that we can get her to talk to the media in this country?
That would be nice if we could get them to all jump on board. No, I mean, that's Gwen. I can't say enough about Gwen. I mean, I love her to pieces. She's very reserved, but when she tells you something, we listen. I have taken everything she's been saying and turning it around to my family. No, this is what I'm told today. You will do this. This is how you're going to do this. And it's great to be able to. And I've reached out to Gwen a few times with concerns about my kids working. My kids are older, and it's like hey, they have this question, and Gwen, she won't even bat an eye. She'll let me tell you what they need to do. Blah 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 blah. And so my kids come to me now, hey, could you go ask Gwen this? And, so no, I love the way she handles the whole situation.
And I love that idea because that's how you tell how dedicated an employee is. I mean, if there's no separation between their professional life and their family life. So in Gwen's case, the information that she shares as part of her job should be applicable in other areas of life. Right. Same with what you do, same with what everybody I've interviewed in this series does. And so you mentioned the word family again. So it can't help but.
I know, it can't help it, sorry.
One of the things that I've noticed with you, one of the many things that really impresses me, and you and I cannot believe you've been with RCM for so long, because I've been lecturing and doing motivational seminars for RCM for probably 9 years now. And I cannot believe I've never met you, but now I understand that there would be no reason up till now.
Right, up till now, that's right.
When this Live Life Well TV project was created, you and I conferred quite a bit, because first of all, I needed to know what the hell I was doing technically, because I'm just an artsy-fartsy type who wears crazy jackets, but you have been wonderful. And one of the things I've noticed about you, Danny, is that you have a wonderful spirit.
Well,
and
thank
you understand how important humor is
you. Yes.
to get through the day. I mean, and what impresses me about you is if you can bring humor to information technology
That's
with
right.
computers and matching up all these systems you're talking about and getting the air conditioning system to talk to the computer and monitoring this, and the description of your typical day just sounds incredibly busy, but yet I bet that by the time you finish a typical day, you are as lively and as kind of spirit filled as you are right now. And I
Um,
understand that sometimes for this 4 o'clock meeting, if it's your turn to present and you have information you want to share with all the executive directors of RCM that are on that call and such, you think of pretty innovative ways to sort of lighten things a bit, particularly during these times where I bet those meetings every day can get pretty heavy because you're talking about the virus stuff,
yeah.
right? And RCM's brilliant reaction to it. It's really impressive to somebody like me who's on the outside. But um, what are some of the things you do to lighten
Um,
meetings or your day with?
that actually, first, I want to go back and tell you when I had my job at IBM, that's where and it goes even farther back, mostly family. But when I had my first job at IBM, there was a man there. He was one of the higher ups in IBM. He actually worked for IBM. Most people are contractors. They don't really work for IBM. Uh, and I got to know him. Whenever you would walk into his office, first thing he would do is tell you a joke, and you'd laugh. And if you turn around, you tell him a joke. He had a notebook on his desk, and he would write the joke down. And I asked him one day, I said, Bob, why do you write those jokes down? He said, the job he had at the time, he said, people come to me with problems and they're usually mad. Something's delayed, something's wrong. People are upset. He said, if you walk in my office and I tell you a joke, the proper response is to tell me a joke. After we've told two jokes, the problem is now secondary. We're laughing, and now we can get to the root of the problem and solve it. And I've carried that with me through the whole thing. These meetings, and I joke around at the office and everything. You have to learn to keep it kind. I mean, you're working, you're serious, but there's times that you can liven things up. If you walk in smiling, that's what I love about you, Robert. You're always smiling, and that's one of the things to me. If you smile and I smile, it's contagious. It could beat the coronavirus if people would just smile. And I try to beat that in their heads all the time, but they won't listen. But no, when these meetings started, they were, even I started getting a little depressed because the news is bad and you're hearing all this and what we've got to do, and residents, kind of sheltering in place and locking down, stopping dining services and, the activities. And so we had to come up with ways to solve that. Well, through all that discussion, like I say, it can weigh pretty heavy on you. So it started out with the backgrounds, like you see now. And like on Tuesday, I switch over to Taco Tuesday. So, I go through all these backgrounds, and I'm trying to get back to one. Okay, there we go. But I started changing my backgrounds. Well, I started noticing that people were commenting in the messages going, we get on this meeting just to see what Danny's going to do next, what his background's going to be. So I actually, and I wish I could show it to you, but I can't swap cameras. There's another software out there called Snap Camera. And anybody that uses Snapchat knows about the filters you can change. Well, Snap Camera changes you. It doesn't change your background. And so one day I got on there and I was Kermit the Frog. And then, and then one of the trolls, the new troll movie came out. And so I became one of the trolls. And so I started playing around with that. And so people loved it. It kind of gave us a little laugh right at the beginning of the meeting to kind of clear the air, and then we could get into the meeting. Then one day I got on the meeting and Kendra hadn't signed on yet. She always runs the meeting. She always starts it. And everybody said, oh no, we're waiting on Kendra. We're waiting on Kendra. And I said, y'all have got to be kidding. We've been through this meeting 100 times. We know how to run it. And I said, so I'm just going to do it myself. And I started pretending I was Kendra and started running the meeting. And so this evening, and as you and I had talked, you won't air this before this meeting, so nobody will know. But this evening, the meeting's going to get run again. But this time, these guys are going to run it. Oop, I forgot I've got the background right. But sock puppets. And so this is actually Kendra Scott, and she's going to run the meeting. And I actually I actually talked a couple other people into this. They made sock puppets too, and they're going to be the rest of the corporate staff, and so they'll answer me back on this meeting of 85 people or whoever's on there. And like I say, it's funny and all, and it's a good laugh. That'll only last about 3 minutes, and then we'll go into our meeting and get serious again.
But I love it. That's so important,
you've
because
got to take a break.
Yeah.
You have to take breaks.
Yes. I mean, you have this intense meeting every day, and even for 3 minutes, even for 1 minute, even if it's a visual background in the Oval Office, it's a wonderful way to start something that can get a little intense and a little heavy. Humor heals, right? Humor heals. Milton Berle once said, I laugh to live and I live to laugh.
I like that.
And it's so very important. So kudos to you, because, you would expect that from an executive with RCM that handles activities programming, or something like that, because that would make sense, right? But from information technology, you are a very special and rare breed. So now I understand why you were summoned to the White House Oval Office.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes you just have to go and talk to the big guys. I mean,
did you have trouble getting into the White House?
Oh no,
not the gates.
The marks on the windows back there, that's my fingerprints from raising the window. So.
Oh, so nobody knows you're in there?
That's right. No, I just crawled in. So.
I love it. This is amazing.
I do have to tell you though, when I'm going to tell a little story on our company here. When we were doing all the backgrounds and everybody was enjoying it and everything, well, I actually did dress up, and I started dressing like the characters to match the background. I just did it one day. I had a Western background. Where's that at? I had this Western background, so I just put on a cowboy hat and started wearing the cowboy hat while I'm talking. We all laughed about it, and everybody said, you know what? This Friday we're doing a dress up contest. Everybody's going to dress up. And so it was great. Everybody dressed up. The only problem, like I was saying, when we do the sock puppet skit, we'll do it for about 3-5 minutes. That'll be it. And then we'll go into a serious meeting. It's a little hard for Dave Keaton to stare at you on the screen and give you a serious message while he's dressed up like a ringleader circus. I kept just smiling because I was like, I know this is serious. I've got to focus, but looking up at Dave with the ringleader hat on just made my day. So we have to be careful about how humor is a great thing. I love that quote by Milton Berle. But at the same time, you don't want to be the class clown. You don't want to go too far. And so I like humor in the right place.
Well, I think the smallest dose of humor creates the biggest wave of change and healing. It doesn't have to be big and grandiose or last longer than 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. No, that's very smart and very ingenious. Really, kudos to you. That makes such a difference.
Well, my aunt, my favorite aunt in the world, she passed away from dementia. And she was very eccentric, but she was an artist, and she'd let us do anything. And she always told me, a true artist knows when to quit. And so I remember that, even like the little comedy skits and stuff. Okay, you got the laugh, now back away. Now move on, and let's get the serious business out of the way. There's a preacher I listen to sometimes. His name is Jesse Duplantis. Don't know if you ever heard of him, but he has comedy through his preaching, and he's hilarious. But he always tells you, the reason I do that is because if I can get you laughing first, then hit you with something serious, then you go, oh, and you're more apt to listen and understand what's going on.
Medicine goes down a lot better if it tastes good. If it's,
That's right.
you know,
That's right.
and humor is probably some of the best medicine there is. With information technology, Danny, where do you see it going in terms of where RCM is going? Because one of the things that impressed me in terms of what Jim Gray was saying is, yes, the growth of RCM over, let's just say, the last 10 years has been phenomenal, from maybe just a few communities to soon to be 35. Right. And then I wouldn't be surprised if soon after that, there'll be more that join the pack. Right. So how will you and your department keep growing to meet the demand? Do you also see IT changing in a way? Because I would think that this is a field where every day there's something new to learn.
Yes, and actually, now this is the serious part of the interview, huh? Okay, actually, we've had some meetings here recently. Dave Keaton, me, and my team, we've all been talking, because normal is not going to be normal anymore. Going forward, I don't think we'll ever. I hear a lot of people saying, when will we get back to normal? Well, for the rest of the world, yeah, they'll probably go back to, quote, normal. For senior housing, no. We are still going to keep up the game, because protecting our residents is the number one priority. So we've started talking about, how does that change IT in our buildings? We have some of our portfolio are more hometown type buildings. They were built around family. They were built around that theory, that design. They weren't built around technology. They were, the way I describe it is going to grandma's. It's warm, it's it's comfort, it's safe. That's grandma's house. Are you going to go over there and play Xbox? Probably not. Grandma probably doesn't have one running, and so some of our properties are in that mindset. They're more of the comfort. But now I'm looking, going, okay, I need to beef up the Wi-Fi in the building. I need to put, a lot of people think you just bring in an adapter, put it on the ceiling, and ta-da, I have Wi-Fi in the building. No, you're looking at a lot of money. You have to come in and beef up the infrastructure inside the building, create the backbone that can handle all the data flying back and forth, because you're not just setting up one person's home, you're setting up 100 homes. They're all going to share the same water hose of information, and so you got to make sure your water hose is big enough to handle it. A couple of other things we've talked about is the social aspect. When we started locking things down, we did what the CDC said. No groups more than 5 people. They had to have social distancing. Well, that's a little hard if you're playing bingo or doing, so we've gone to virtual bingo. We actually have, I think they're doing it at River Oaks. I think they just did at River Oaks, but we're bringing in celebrities to host, virtual bingo, and the residents love it. They can do it from anywhere. And so we're looking at more technology like that. How can we stay together and still stay apart? And so we're looking at, making sure that the TVs have a dedicated channel that's ours. The Live Life Well TV, things like that. Those things are going to keep going. They were great. I can't believe we pulled this off this fast to put together Live Life Well TV. I mean, it was a major project, and we put it together in about 2 weeks. So,
and kudos to you and the RCM executives who helped make this happen. I'm in awe.
I was really impressed myself. And I mean, Erica did a great job getting everything set up, but Erica's the one that's been running the virtual bingo. Um, and we're looking at, hey, we can bring in entertainers, we can do other events. Most of our properties have TVs around the property, on the walls, things like that. We want to make sure it can broadcast all the time. So if you're in your apartment, you're feeling lonely, we want you to be able to hit a button, talk to somebody. It needs to be that simple. And so that's kind of my focus now, is how do I connect people? They're disconnected right now, and make it feel, that's the thing. You want to connect them, but how do I make it feel like you and I are in the same room right now talking, that I could reach out and give you a fist bump, I mean, that's how I want to present it. I don't want it just to be, I'm watching a TV, I sit there, I turn the TV off, I go, no, I'm still lonely. I want it interactive. And so we're looking at new technologies, things, and then on the safety side of things, we're looking at thermal cameras, actually putting a thermal camera in, that not to where you have to walk in and get scanned, but to where it sees the image and it can say, hey, wait, you might want to check this person because they're showing hot right now. So they could be running a fever. And, and it's not just for coronavirus. I mean, we don't want a flu outbreak in one of our communities is bad. Any transmittable disease we want to keep out and keep our residents safe. And so we're looking at how do we implement these technologies. And honestly, I think the industry as a whole, some are further along, some have deeper pockets that can do this. They're all moving to that direction. They're starting to ask the questions, how do we keep this going, but make it feel like home again? We don't want to be clinical. We don't want to be a hospital. That's not what these people are doing. They're coming here because this is their home. This is where you want to bring your grandkids and your kids and your friends over. I mean, we want, it needs to be inviting, but how can we do that in a safe manner and still keep all the precautions we have in place? And like I say, I think the industry as a whole right now is looking at that. That's a lot of the articles I'm reading. That's where they're going right now. They're trying to figure out, how do we continue this, but make it more comfortable.
I love that direction, and it's very necessary.
Yes.
What I've been looking at, Danny, is along these lines, and it's something that I've always known. And I started to see this many years ago when I started to speak at senior retirement communities. And this is what I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
If I were lecturing on a Broadway series, so in other words, any given month, because it's monthly, I would talk about a Broadway show, Hello, Dolly, right? So I would brief the residents as to some really fascinating trivia behind the show and how Carol Channing wasn't the first choice and this and that. But then I would show clips live from the stage of a Broadway theater pertaining to that show, where there was an audience, right, and the orchestra.
Right.
And I would watch the residents' faces as they were watching these clips as part of my lecture. And it never failed. Whenever I would stop the clip at the end of a number, residents would applaud as if they were really sitting there in that Broadway theater. And I started to look into that. And what I found was our brains cannot differentiate between, when we see something live on TV, our brain thinks that we're really there.
Right.
Because we respond to the energy of what's being broadcast. We respond when we see sweat on the actors' faces singing live. We respond to when the camera goes into the orchestra pit and you see everybody playing. When the camera pans to the audience and they give that number a standing ovation, your brain cannot differentiate between you sitting in your apartment or in a small public space at an RCM community, as opposed to actually being in that Broadway theater. And that is the power of what you were just talking about. That is the power of Live Life Well TV, is that things can be done
Right.
in this type of a situation that we find ourselves in with this virus, that will help you feel as if you're there.
You're there.
And
Yeah.
that's huge because your nervous system is connected to your health.
That's right.
And if executive directors at the 4:00 meeting that you Zoom or whatever today, and they see you, with the sock puppets for the first 3 minutes, that heals, that lifts. It's like feeling like you're sitting in the audience of a Broadway theater.
That's right.
So what RCM is doing along these lines is huge. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And everybody who has helped bring things like this to the fore.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember, Robert, there used to be a show called Science Fiction Theater 2000.
Yeah.
And they would show a movie, and it showed the two guys. You could see the two guys sitting down there talking through the whole movie, making a little snide comment. I used to love that show. But that was it, because I felt like I was with those two guys, and we were all making fun of the movie because they were old Twilight Zone movies and stuff. And so, no, that's the type of stuff that, how do you make residents feel? And the generation right now that we're serving, now when the baby boomers and all them get old enough, we may not have the issues we have now. A lot of these residents have never used computers. They've never used technology. So how do you make it simple and affordable so that they can have technology in their house that you don't have to sit and try to explain all the time? Alexa, we're looking at, AI, implementing things like that. It's a nightmare for a network person to install all that, but it's okay. I mean, if it helps, we'll figure out how to get it done. And so those are the technology things we're looking at.
Yeah, that's huge. It's like many people know that I used to be a cruise director. So if I had footage of being on the bridge of a cruise ship that I worked, and we were going through an intense storm. So with my cell phone, I filmed the waves and the ship going up and down and side to side. Residents at RCM communities who would be viewing that footage might really get seasick. Because again, the brain thinks it's there. So I really look forward to seeing how things progress, not only with this Live Life Well TV station, but with the whole incredible world of IT as it pertains to RCM, as the years continue to unfold. I think it's going to play an even more prominent role than it has up until this moment. So, last and final question, Danny. If you could give a message to all of the residents, and I know that some staff and executives watch these shows too, but if you could talk to the residents from your heart to theirs at this point in time, what would your message be?
Actually, I think if I was talking to the residents, it may sound sappy, but I would tell them I love you and you're not alone. We're here for you. So, and that would be my main message.
Not sappy at all. Not sappy at all. It comes from the heart, which is who and what you are all about. And you know what? When you add humor to that and deeply caring for who you are and what you do with passion, that is a winning combination. So I'm here to tell you, Danny Merchant, that you are a winner.
Hey, what's the prize? Oh.
There you go.
I get to work from home. Thanks, Robert.
Anytime. So as you're leaving the Oval Office today, I guess probably via the same way you came in. Please don't forget to take your sock puppets with you. But before you do, see if you can find your way to visit some of the staff there, because I think they need their day brightened, just like the 4 o'clock meeting today, when the sock puppets for the first 3 minutes will make their debut.
Yeah, I've noticed all the news conferences. The staff here in the Oval Office just don't really seem fun. I mean, I don't know how they handle the sock puppet thing.
Yeah, I think sock puppets would really help break the extreme tension. That is, I mean, there's less tension in an earthquake, you know.
That's right.
Anyway, I really want to thank you, Danny, for joining us.
Thanks, Robert.
I've got to be totally honest with you, as I am anyway. It has been a sincere pleasure. So don't stop being who you are, because where you've come from and what you've learned along the way makes a huge difference.
Thank you.